Success is not something that happens to you, it is something you design. And wealth is the silent reflection of the choices you make in the quiet moments of your life. People say money can't buy happiness. True, but it can buy choices. And choices, my friends, are the currency of freedom. Today we learn how to earn, multiply, and master both. What would your life look like if money wasn't your master but your servant? What if every dollar you earned, every hour you worked, and every choice you made was marching in perfect harmony toward your dreams? Most people spend their entire lives chasing money, thinking it will buy freedom. But the truth is, freedom begins in the mind, not the bank. You see, wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about how you think, how you act, and how you grow each day. The 97% of people live as captives of circumstance, ruled by fleeting pleasures and paycheck-to-paycheck anxiety. But there's a different path, a path walked by the 3% who understand that money is a reflection of discipline, clarity, and vision. Today, I want to take you beyond the surface. I want to show you how to think like the wealthy, act like the wealthy, and live a life where money works for you, so that one day, when you look back, you don't just see a bank balance, you see a legacy. You see, most people live their lives thinking that wealth starts with the bank account. They look at their paycheck, their savings, or their debts and say, this is what I have, this is what I can do. But let me tell you a truth that changes everything. Wealth begins in the mind long before it ever touches your wallet. Your life doesn't get better by chance, it gets better by change. And that change begins with the way you think about what's possible. You must learn to think big, to see beyond the limits of your current circumstances. When I first started out, I didn't have much money at all. I had debts, I had uncertainty, and I had a simple desk in a tiny office. But I had one thing that money couldn't buy: the willingness to expand my thinking. I stopped asking, can I afford this? And I started asking, how can I afford this? That shift in question alone transformed my life. Suddenly, problems became puzzles, obstacles became opportunities, and limitations turned into invitations for creativity. Thinking big doesn't mean daydreaming or hoping for luck. It means planting your mental seeds with intention and giving your mind permission to grow beyond what it currently sees. I want you to take a piece of paper today and write down 3 goals that both scare you and inspire you. If they don't make you a little uncomfortable, they're too small. These are the goals that demand you stretch, that demand you grow into the person who can handle them. Then, replace self-doubt with problem-solving questions. Instead of saying, I can't do this, ask yourself, what steps must I take to make this happen, or who can help me reach this level? You'll be surprised how quickly your brain starts looking for answers when you change the way you ask questions. I remember a time when I wanted to expand my own business. The task felt impossible, the numbers didn't add up, the resources seemed insufficient, and I doubted myself daily. But I committed 10 minutes every morning to visualizing my future life, the house I would live in, the freedom I would have, the knowledge and skill I would need to acquire. Day after day, this practice rewired my thinking. I began to see opportunities I had overlooked. I began to act as if I were already on the path to that life. And step by step, the actions followed the vision. What I once thought impossible became inevitable because my mind was trained to see it, believe it, and work toward it relentlessly. So remember, wealth does not start in the bank, in the stock market, or in the office. It starts in the mind. It starts with the courage to see possibilities where others see obstacles. Begin there, take deliberate mental steps, and watch as your actions, your decisions, and your results begin to align with the life you've imagined. Dream boldly, think expansively, and let your mind be the blueprint for the wealth you will build. Let me ask you something. When that paycheck hits your account, Where does it go first? Most people look at their bills, their groceries, their rent, and whatever is left over, they think, maybe I'll save a little if there's anything left. But that's the philosophy that keeps people stuck. The truth is, the way you treat your money reflects the way you treat yourself. The rich have a different approach. They pay themselves first. They honor their future self before anyone else claims a piece of their income. The philosophy is simple but profound. The rich invest their money and spend what's left. The poor spend their money and invest what's left. Notice the difference. One group builds a future, the other postpones it indefinitely. Wealth is not about how much you earn, it's about what you do with what you earn. Discipline, not income, creates financial freedom. I learned this lesson early, sitting at my small desk, looking at a handful of dollars and a pile of bills. My mentor told me to take just a fraction, no matter how small, and set it aside first. Not after bills, not after coffee, not after distractions, but first. That simple act changed everything. Paying yourself first teaches control. It teaches that you are the master of your finances, not the other way around. It teaches foresight, patience, and gratitude toward your future self. Every dollar set aside is a soldier in your army, working to bring you freedom. Practically, this means setting aside at least 10% of every dollar you earn, no excuses. It may seem impossible when your budget feels tight, but start where you are. Even a single dollar is a commitment to your future. And don't leave it to chance, automate it. When the money moves to savings or investment accounts without your thinking, you remove the temptation to spend it, and you create a system that supports your success. Over time, these small, consistent payments compound. $10 today becomes $100 tomorrow, and $1,000 the year after. The magic isn't in the amount, it's in the habit. Think of it as paying a bill, not to a landlord, not to a utility, but to your own freedom. This is the bill for your independence, your choices, and your future lifestyle. Every dollar that obeys this command strengthens your confidence, your control, and your vision. I remember when I first automated my small savings. The process was barely noticeable in my day-to-day life. Yet years later, those modest contributions had grown into a foundation that allowed me to seize opportunities I never imagined. It was the discipline, not the amount, that changed my life. So I tell you this, don't wait for more money. Don't wait for the perfect paycheck or the next bonus. Honor your future self today. Pay yourself first. Train your mind to value tomorrow over temporary pleasures, and watch as your financial landscape transforms. Your future freedom is a reward for the discipline you practice right now. Let me ask you this, how secure is your financial future if all you have is a single paycheck? Most people think that as long as the job is steady, everything else will fall into place. But the truth is, relying on just one source of income is like standing on one leg during a storm. You are unstable, vulnerable, and at the mercy of forces beyond your control. Wealth is never built by chance. It is built by foresight. Never depend on a single source of income. Make investments to create a second, a third, a fourth. The principle is simple but transformative. Diversify your financial life so that even if one leg falters, the whole structure stands tall. I learned this lesson in my early years. I had a small job, a modest paycheck, and a lot of dreams. But life has a way of testing us. One month, a sudden expense hit hard, and I realized just how precarious my situation was. I saw people around me who were struggling in similar ways. One illness, one economic downturn, one misstep away from disaster. That's when I understood wealth is built on multiple pillars, not a single line of defense. A strong financial house is supported by job income, investments, business ventures, and passive streams. You may not have all four legs immediately, but you start with one, then build the next and the next, steadily creating stability and freedom. Practically, this begins with identifying one skill or income source that can grow beyond your primary job. Maybe it's freelancing, tutoring, a small business, or online consulting. Start small, but start intentionally. Treat it as an investment in your future, not just extra cash for the weekend. As profits come in, reinvest them into assets that grow, stocks, educational courses, property, or intellectual property. You are not simply earning extra, you are planting seeds for a garden that will grow independently of your daily labor. Another practical step is commitment. Dedicate at least 1 hour every week to learning something new about income generation. Read about markets, study business models, learn about online platforms, or practice a skill that can eventually create passive returns. Small, consistent action compounds over time. When you develop the mindset that every effort should feed multiple streams, you transform your relationship with money. You are no longer dependent. You are proactive. I remember when I first began diversifying, I didn't have a lot, but I had determination and a willingness to learn. My side hustle earnings, initially modest, were never spent frivolously. Instead, they were reinvested into tools, education, and small opportunities that eventually snowballed. Over the years, those small steps provided a safety net and opened doors to opportunities I could not have accessed with a single paycheck. So I tell you today, don't stand on one leg. Build multiple streams of income. Protect yourself, educate yourself, and take control of your financial future. The storm will come, challenges will arise, but those who have prepared with multiple pillars stand firm while others wobble. Financial freedom is not about luck. It is about creating a stable foundation you can rely on in any circumstance. Let me share a truth that too few people understand. Formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. You can spend years earning degrees, certificates, and accolades, and still find yourself struggling to build real wealth if you never commit to learning about money, mindset, and the principles of financial freedom. Wealth is a science, not magic. It responds to study, to application, and to the habits of those willing to invest in their own understanding. The more you know, the more valuable you become. Knowledge is not just power, it's your currency in the marketplace of life. When I began my journey, I had very little in terms of money, but I had a hunger to learn. I realized quickly that I couldn't rely on luck or inherited wisdom alone. I had to immerse myself in the principles that govern financial success. And so I made a daily habit of feeding my mind with knowledge. 10 pages a day from a book on money, mindset, or personal growth might seem small, almost insignificant. Yet over time, those pages became bricks that built the foundation of my wealth. Knowledge compounds just like money. What you learn today may not yield results tomorrow, but in 5, 10, or 20 years, it shapes the decisions you make, the opportunities you seize, and the life you create. Self-education also requires discipline in how you spend your time. Most people waste hours in front of screens, chasing entertainment that leaves their mind passive and unprepared. If you want to build wealth, you must redirect that time. Replace just 30 minutes of mindless distraction with education. Listen to a podcast about investing, read a chapter on business strategy, or study a story of someone who created value and prosperity. This simple shift develops a mindset of growth, trains you to see opportunity, and strengthens your financial intuition. Over time, these small actions transform not just your knowledge, but your confidence and your ability to act decisively. Another critical step is mentorship. Find someone who embodies financial wisdom, not just the appearance of wealth. There are plenty of people who flaunt luxury, but true mentors teach discipline, strategy, and vision. Watch their habits, learn their thinking, and model their principles. A mentor's guidance can save you years of trial and error, pointing you toward decisions that multiply your growth instead of leaving you chasing illusions. I recall my early years when I would sit down with mentors, asking questions, absorbing insights, and taking notes like a student of life. Those conversations became my roadmap, teaching me to manage money, think long-term, and invest wisely. Knowledge applied is power applied. Without study, ambition is like a ship without a rudder, directionless and at the mercy of circumstance. But with study, you gain clarity, confidence, and a framework for action. So I say this today, treat the study of wealth like a sacred discipline. Feed your mind consistently. Invest in your education daily. And follow the guidance of those who have walked the path before you. Knowledge is the seed, action is the water. Nurture both and your financial garden will grow stronger with each passing year. Let me tell you something important. We don't get paid for the hours we put in. We get paid for the value we bring. You can work 20, 40, or 60 hours a week and still struggle financially if you're not focused on increasing your worth. Wealth is not a reward for effort alone. It's a reward for contribution, for solving problems that matter, for offering something people truly need. If you want to build lasting prosperity, you must learn to work smart, not just hard. When I started out, I spent long hours trying to make ends meet. But then I realized something profound. My income wasn't tied to my labor hours. It was tied to my value. The more I could offer, the more I could earn. The more problems I could solve for more people, the bigger my results became. And that's the principle I want you to understand today. Wealth comes from value, not time. The first step is to identify the skills that make you more valuable. What are 3 abilities that could elevate your work, your business, or your personal brand? Perhaps it's communication, sales, leadership, or technical expertise. Maybe it's learning to negotiate better, manage people more effectively, or create products that solve real problems. Once you know your high-value skills, commit to improving at least one of them every week. It doesn't matter how small the improvement seems. Consistent growth compounds over time and multiplies your opportunities. Next, ask yourself a simple but powerful question. How can I solve bigger problems for more people? This is the mindset that separates those who work for money from those who make money work for them. When you focus on solving meaningful problems, income follows naturally. People pay for results, not effort. They pay for outcomes, not intentions. If your work impacts the lives of others positively, if it creates efficiency, satisfaction, or growth for someone else, you will be rewarded proportionally. I remember my early days when I began offering more than what was asked of me. I looked for ways to anticipate needs, to provide solutions before being asked to go beyond the expected. Those small steps of added value built a reputation that opened doors I never imagined. It taught me that wealth isn't created by working harder, It's created by thinking, by innovating, and by becoming indispensable. Another practical habit is to dedicate time each week to learning, practicing, and refining your skills. Whether it's a course, a book, or hands-on experience, continuous improvement increases your earning power exponentially. The more skilled and capable you become, the higher the demand for your work, and the more opportunities appear. Remember, your income is a reflection of your contribution. The market rewards those who can solve bigger, more important problems. So today, shift your focus from grinding hours to growing value. Ask yourself, what problem can I solve better? How can I make my contribution more significant? When you master the art of value, you stop trading time for money. You start building leverage, influence, and wealth that grows long after your hours end. Value is the currency of prosperity. Invest in it relentlessly, and your financial life will follow. Let me be honest with you. Most people fail with money not because they don't earn enough, but because they don't know where it goes. It slips through their fingers like water, unnoticed, unmeasured, unmanaged. You can have a high income and still feel broke at the end of the month if you never track your spending. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, and tracking every dollar is the first step in building that bridge. You can't control what you don't measure. If you don't know where your money goes, how can you direct it toward freedom, growth, or wealth? I remember the time early in my life when I thought I was careful with money. I was living paycheck to paycheck, but I told myself I had nothing left at the end of the month because that's just life. I had no record, no awareness, no plan. One day, I started recording every single dollar I earned and every dollar I spent. At first, it was uncomfortable. I saw small leaks everywhere. $20 here on coffee, $30 there on convenience, little things adding up to hundreds. But awareness is power. The moment I faced the numbers, honestly, I gained control. That simple act of measurement transformed my mindset from reactive to intentional. Tracking your money is more than writing down numbers. It is turning emotion into intelligence. Too often, people spend based on feelings, stress, boredom, peer pressure, rather than on goals or priorities. When you write down your income and expenses each week, suddenly, the emotional haze clears. You see exactly where your resources are going. You can identify waste, redirect funds, and make choices consciously rather than reacting blindly. It gives your money purpose. Every dollar begins to have a job, a mission, a plan. Here's a simple strategy. Dedicate a notebook, spreadsheet, or app to recording everything weekly. Every Sunday. Review your spending honestly. Ask yourself, did this purchase serve me or distract me? Did it build my future or feed a temporary pleasure? Then identify just one expense you can redirect towards something that grows you. An investment, a course, a skill, or even a small saving. Over time, those small redirections compound into significant resources. The power of tracking is not just in saving, it's in awareness. When you measure consistently, patterns emerge. You notice where money leaks, where habits need correction, and where opportunities lie. Perhaps you spend too much on convenience, dining out, or subscriptions you rarely use. By identifying these, you can redirect those funds toward growth. That 1 hour a week of reviewing your finances becomes a habit that compounds faster than compound interest itself. The truth is, people who are financially free aren't necessarily richer, they are more aware. They know exactly where every dollar goes. And because of this knowledge, they make better choices. Knowledge without action is useless, but knowledge with measurement turns into mastery. Tracking every dollar gives you clarity, and clarity gives you power. It transforms your relationship with money from one of fear and chaos to one of control, confidence, and strategic growth. So begin today. Record, review, and redirect. Make your money conscious. Watch small awareness grow into large results. The act of measuring, correcting, and repeating is not glamorous, but it is the foundation of wealth. Discipline turns small steps into unstoppable momentum. Let me ask you a question. How many people wander through life with a vague idea of success, hoping somehow that money, opportunity, or luck will find them? Too many. And the reason they fail is simple: they don't know what they truly want. The reason why most people don't get what they want is because they haven't defined it clearly. They have dreams, yes, but dreams without clarity, without structure, without a deadline, are like leaves floating in the wind. They might land somewhere, but it won't be where you hoped. Wealth doesn't come to those who drift, it comes to those who chart a course. If you want to build lasting wealth, you must set clear goals that are written, measurable, and tied to a compelling purpose. When I first began my journey, I realized that having a goal is like having a compass in a storm. It tells you where to steer your actions, where to focus your energy, and what decisions will move you forward rather than sideways. Without it, even the best effort can scatter, wasted on things that don't matter. The strategy is simple but profound. Take your dreams and turn them into concrete goals. Write down your 1-year, 3-year, and 5-year financial targets. Don't just write numbers, attach meaning to them. Why do you want this amount? Freedom? Family security? The ability to give and help others? When your goals have purpose, they ignite a fire inside you. That fire sustains you through challenges, obstacles, and setbacks. Goals without purpose are just numbers. Goals with purpose are magnets for action. Once your goals are written, assign each one a deadline. Money doesn't flow to vague intentions, it responds to urgency and clarity. Deadlines force you to organize, prioritize, and act. When I first started, I set my own deadlines for paying off debt, for building savings, and for developing assets. I didn't wait for inspiration or motivation to strike. I set the timeline, and then I worked backward, creating daily and weekly actions that moved me toward it. Each small step compounded, turning what seemed distant into reality. Reviewing your goals daily is where the magic happens. Every morning, remind yourself of what you are building, why it matters, and what actions today will move the needle. Your mind craves clarity. When you provide it, your thoughts, decisions, and behaviors naturally align with your objectives. Visualization and affirmation are not fluffy concepts. They are tools for focus, reinforcing the connection between your present actions and future results. I spent 10 minutes each morning envisioning where I wanted to be financially and personally. I saw the life I wanted in detail, the freedom, the comfort, the ability to give back. That practice shaped every decision I made that day. Vague dreams create vague results. Clear goals create unstoppable momentum. Wealth follows clarity, not chance. If you don't know what you want, no amount of income, effort, or luck will bring it to you. But once you define it, commit to it, and connect it to purpose, the universe begins to organize itself to help you. Every dollar you save, every skill you learn, every investment you make gains meaning. Decide today, write your goals, give them deadlines, attach a compelling reason, and review them each morning. Let clarity guide your actions and watch how momentum transforms dreams into wealth. Let me tell you something most people overlook. Wealth isn't just what you keep, it's also what you give away. You see, the act of teaching and sharing your knowledge doesn't diminish your success, it multiplies it. I've learned that the principle is simple. Giving starts the receiving process. When you help someone else understand a concept, master a skill, or navigate a challenge, you're not just lifting them, you're lifting yourself. Teaching transforms knowledge into mastery. Sharing becomes a catalyst for growth, not just for others, but for you. When I first started on my financial journey, I realized that every lesson I learned had a deeper impact when I shared it. I would take simple ideas about saving, investing, and planning and discuss them with a friend or mentor. At first, it was just to explain what I was learning, but soon I discovered that articulating these lessons forced me to understand them better. I had to clarify my thinking, examine my assumptions, and reinforce my own habits. Every conversation became a test of comprehension, every explanation a reinforcement of discipline. In that process, I wasn't just teaching, I was learning at a higher level. The strategy is clear. Mentoring and sharing are not optional if you want wealth to grow exponentially. You can start small. Share one financial lesson each week, whether it's a saving tip, a budgeting habit, or an insight about investing. Discuss your goals openly with someone you trust. Accountability is one of the most underrated forces in wealth building. It's hard to slack off when someone else knows what you're striving for. Helping others succeed does something profound. It strengthens your own discipline. When you take time to guide someone, answer questions, or provide encouragement, you reinforce the behaviors you are trying to cultivate in yourself. You see your own challenges mirrored in theirs, and as you help them navigate obstacles, you discover solutions for yourself. It creates a ripple effect. One lesson shared can spark 10 more actions. A single conversation can inspire a week of disciplined behavior. Wealth grows not just in money, but in habits, mindset, and influence. I remember mentoring a young colleague early in my career. We spent an hour each week discussing finances, goal setting, and personal development. Initially, I thought I was teaching him, but soon I realized I was learning as much as I was sharing. The process forced me to systematize my knowledge, to articulate my philosophy, and to refine my actions. That simple practice accelerated my growth far faster than solitary effort ever could. So, the 3% don't just accumulate wealth, they multiply it through teaching and sharing. They build a legacy that outlasts themselves, transforming knowledge into power and influence. Every person you help, every lesson you share, and every conversation you engage in compounds over time. Wealth is no longer just dollars in a bank, it's a network of knowledge, influence, and disciplined action. Decide today to share what you learn, mentor, teach, and multiply. In giving, you don't lose, you expand, you strengthen, and you create a legacy that lasts beyond money. Let me share something most people misunderstand about wealth. Too many think wealth is only dollars, only assets, only the numbers in a bank account. But the truth is far deeper. True wealth is about what you attract in life by the person you become. And when we think about legacy, we must think not in years, but in generations. It's not just about what you accumulate. It's about the habits, values, and principles you leave behind. Money is temporary, but influence, wisdom, and character endure. If you want lasting impact, you must build a legacy that teaches others how to think, how to act, and how to grow long after you're gone. Strategy is simple but profound. Document your systems. Record how you save, how you invest, how you make decisions. Share the lessons you've learned, the successes, and perhaps even more importantly, the mistakes. When you do this, you turn your personal experience into a roadmap for others. You show them that wealth is not random, that freedom is not luck, and that disciplined, consistent action builds results over time. Think about your children, your family, the people you mentor. What will they inherit? Beyond money, what habits, attitudes, and philosophies will shape their lives? This is the heart of true legacy. When I was growing up, I noticed something in families around me. Some left behind estates, houses, or bank accounts. Others left behind habits of thought, ways of managing resources, principles about discipline, generosity, and focus. I watched how those families who nurtured values instead of only wealth thrived for generations. The children didn't just inherit money, they inherited understanding. They knew how to think about money, how to invest in themselves, and how to treat resources responsibly. That is far more powerful than any sum of dollars. Practical steps are what make this philosophy real. Start by documenting your financial systems, no matter how simple. Record your strategies for saving, giving, and investing. Create family traditions around these principles. Perhaps a weekly discussion about money, a habit of giving to others, or a monthly reflection on personal growth. Live the life you want others to inherit. Your children and family are watching. They absorb more from your habits than your lectures. Your actions teach faster and deeper than your words. I remember mentoring someone whose father had accumulated wealth but never shared his philosophy. The money was there, but the children squandered it. Contrast that with a friend whose parents were disciplined, shared knowledge, and modeled values of patience, integrity, and learning. That child, decades later, became financially secure, generous, and wise, not because they inherited money alone, but because they inherited a framework for thinking and acting. This is the principle. What you leave in people outlasts what you leave in accounts. So, when you think about building wealth, think bigger. Think beyond your lifetime. Invest in yourself, yes, but also invest in the people around you. Document, share, model, and create traditions that carry your principles forward. The money you leave may be spent, but the mindset you leave will multiply across generations. Live as though the legacy you leave behind is your greatest asset. Make your life a template that others can follow long after you are gone. Let me tell you something that most people completely overlook when it comes to building wealth. They focus on making more money today, thinking that's the only path to financial freedom. But the greatest asset you have is not the money in your wallet, it's time. Time is more valuable than money, because while you can earn more dollars, you can never earn more hours, more days, more years. And that is why the moment you start investing, even in the smallest amounts, you are planting seeds that grow into a forest of wealth over time. The secret that separates those who struggle from those who build lasting prosperity is consistency and patience. Time, coupled with disciplined investment, is the ultimate wealth multiplier. The strategy is simple but profound. Start early. Don't wait for a raise, a bonus, or the perfect moment. Begin with what you have. Even a small weekly investment, compounded over decades, can grow beyond what most people imagine. Compounding is a force of nature in finance. The longer you let it work, the greater the power. Think of it as a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's tiny, almost unnoticeable. But as it picks up snow, momentum grows, and eventually it becomes unstoppable. That's how wealth is built, not by luck, not by sudden windfalls, but by small, consistent contributions over time. Now let me give you practical steps. First, commit to investing a portion of every paycheck. Automate it so it happens without thought, without negotiation with your impulses. Send 5%, 10%, or whatever you can spare into a retirement account, stocks, or mutual funds each week. Don't wait for a perfect stock or market timing. Perfection is a trap. Time in the market is far more valuable than timing the market. Second, reinvest dividends and earnings. Don't spend them, let them compound. Every dollar left to work grows faster. Like a worker who never sleeps, building wealth quietly while you focus on other parts of life. Third, review your investments quarterly. Understand where your money is working, where it can be improved, and how it aligns with your long-term goals. Even small adjustments compound into significant advantages over years. I remember when I started, my income was modest and the idea of investing felt intimidating. But I took the lesson of time seriously. I began with a single dollar out of each paycheck. It felt tiny, almost symbolic. But each week I added more. Each year, my investments grew not just from contributions, but from the compounding interest that quietly worked behind the scenes. Decades later, those small early investments became the foundation of financial freedom. The lesson is clear. It's not how much you start with, it's that you start early and stay consistent. If you delay, you waste the most precious resource you have. If you begin now, you let compounding do the heavy lifting. You harness the most powerful force in wealth creation, time. Small contributions today grow into freedom tomorrow. The key is patience, discipline, and the courage to begin. Start early, invest consistently, and let time do what money alone cannot. Let me tell you something most people misunderstand about money. Debt is not inherently evil, but it is the silent thief of freedom when misused. I've seen countless individuals, talented and hardworking, trapped by the weight of borrowing they never fully controlled. They work paycheck to paycheck, their money disappears before they even realize it, and most of it goes to pay interest on things that don't create value. Debt, in this sense, becomes a lifestyle of servitude, a chain around your financial potential. The key is understanding that debt is a tool, not a crutch. Used wisely, it can multiply your wealth. Misused, it will consume your life and limit your choices. The philosophy is simple. You want financial freedom, but freedom cannot coexist with uncontrolled debt. Every dollar borrowed for consumption is a dollar that works against you. Every high interest payment is a silent drain, pulling you further from your goals. On the other hand, borrowing to invest in assets like business growth, real estate, or education can create leverage that expands your opportunities. The 3% understand this distinction, and they make debt work for them rather than allowing it to dictate their lifestyle. Now, the strategy is not complicated, but it requires discipline and clarity. Begin by taking stock of every debt you have. Know the numbers, know the interest rates, and know the terms. Awareness is the first step toward control. Once you understand where your money is going, create a repayment plan that eliminates high-interest debt first. Don't settle for minimum payments that prolong your bondage. Target the debts that cost you the most and accelerate your payments strategically. Every dollar freed from unnecessary debt is a soldier you can deploy toward wealth-building activities. Practical steps are essential. First, track every debt meticulously. Credit cards, personal loans, and even buy now, pay later schemes must be accounted for. Know exactly what you owe and when it's due. That new gadget, that night out, or even an upgraded car might feel rewarding in the moment, but these purchases do not compound, they depreciate. Instead, train yourself to live below your means and redirect the money you would have spent on interest toward investments, savings, or assets that generate returns. Third, reinvest the money saved from avoiding high-interest debt. That is the magic. Every dollar you don't give to a lender becomes a dollar working for your freedom. Over time, these dollars multiply, compounding into real wealth. I remember early in my own life, struggling with small debts, learning the hard way that convenience today often costs freedom tomorrow. I committed to control every borrowing decision and prioritize repayment. Slowly, my debt decreased, my control increased, and my ability to invest and build assets expanded. The relief was not just financial, it was psychological. Controlling debt restores self-respect, empowers decisions, and allows you to act instead of react. Debt is a tool, but only if you wield it wisely. Avoid living in debt for convenience, for status, or for temporary pleasure. Use borrowing to create leverage, not chains. Every choice today builds the foundation of your freedom tomorrow. Control debt, and you control your destiny. Most people work hard all their lives and still find themselves trapped in a cycle where money comes in and goes out, leaving little behind. That's because they focus on liabilities, things that consume their resources rather than generate them. A car, the newest gadget, or a bigger house may make life feel comfortable, but they drain money rather than build it. True wealth comes from assets, from things that put money into your pocket even while you sleep. Assets are the engines of freedom, and the sooner you understand this, the sooner you stop trading your time for a paycheck alone. The philosophy is simple. If you want to be wealthy, you must distinguish between what takes and what gives. Many people confuse having with owning. Owning. A flashy car is having. But owning a rental property or a business is true ownership because it generates income. Education alone won't make this distinction for you. Formal education can give you a living, but self-education teaches you to create wealth. Learning how money works, how assets grow, and how to leverage your skills is far more powerful than any diploma hanging on the wall. The strategy, therefore, is to convert everything you can, money, skills, knowledge, and time, into assets that produce income. Begin by taking stock of what you already own that could be turned into an income stream. Perhaps it's a spare room in your home that can be rented, a skill you've honed that others need, or a hobby that can be monetized. Think of each asset as a worker, a soldier you send out to bring back rewards. The beauty of assets is that they compound over time, generating more freedom, more options, and more opportunities, unlike liabilities, which demand constant effort just to maintain. Practical steps are critical. First, make a list of everything you own that generates or could generate income. Be creative. Sometimes the simplest things are overlooked. Next, begin investing in proven income-producing assets. This could be a rental property, stocks, bonds, or even a small business. The goal is to create a portfolio of income streams that eventually surpass your daily expenses. Third, look at your skills. What knowledge or talent do you have that can be turned into a scalable product or service? Perhaps teaching, consulting, writing, or creating digital content. When skills become assets, they work for you, not the other way around. I learned this lesson early in my own life. I had little money, but I had ideas and a willingness to act. I invested in books that taught me principles, turned those ideas into workshops, then into products, and eventually into streams of income that didn't require me to trade time for every dollar. Each step built upon the previous, showing me that assets are the true measure of wealth. Remember, wealth is not about collecting things, it's about creating systems that put money to work. Focus on building assets, minimize liabilities, and let your money, your skills, and your resources serve you. The moment you see your assets growing, freedom follows naturally. Build assets, and you build freedom. The people you spend the most time with will shape not just your attitude, but your financial destiny. You see, we often underestimate the power of our circle. It's not just about who you know, it's about who influences your thinking, your habits, and your beliefs. The philosophy is clear. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If those people think small, complain often, and avoid responsibility, your results will inevitably mirror theirs. But if you surround yourself with people who challenge you, inspire you, and model wealth thinking, your mindset shifts naturally and your opportunities expand. The strategy then is to be deliberate about the company you keep. Wealth isn't built in isolation, it's built through connection, collaboration, and learning from those who have already walked the path. Begin by seeking out people whose habits, attitudes, and successes you admire. Notice not just their bank accounts, but how they think about money, risk, and opportunity. Wealthy thinking is contagious, and the more you expose yourself to it, the more it becomes part of your own mindset. This is why many people plateau financially. They remain in circles that reinforce scarcity, doubt, and small thinking. Practical steps are straightforward, but they require commitment. Start by joining mastermind groups, investment clubs, or mentorship circles where discussions focus on growth, strategy, and action. These aren't social clubs, they are classrooms of opportunity. Engage actively, ask questions, share your experiences, and learn from both successes and failures. Second, network intentionally. Don't simply attend events or gatherings aimlessly. Seek out individuals who possess skills or knowledge you aspire to master. A single conversation can reveal insights, open doors, or spark ideas that might take years to discover on your own. Third, cultivate the habit of giving back in your network. Share your knowledge, experiences, and ideas. When you offer value, you become memorable and relationships deepen. Often, opportunities appear not from direct effort, but from the trust and respect you build within your circle. I've seen this principle in action countless times in my life. Early on, I was surrounded by people who thought small, and my own thinking reflected theirs. When I consciously sought mentors and peers who acted boldly, invested wisely, and valued personal growth, I noticed my decisions changing almost immediately. The ideas I absorbed, the habits I adopted, and the mindset shifts I experienced were all products of association. Even a single hour spent in the right circle can accelerate your growth more than weeks of solitary effort. Remember, wealth is not only about what you know or how hard you work. It's about who you allow to shape your thinking. By aligning yourself with individuals who embody vision, discipline, and prosperity, you create a fertile environment for your own success. Relationships are not merely social, they are strategic, and they compound over time like financial investments. Choose your circle wisely, nurture it, and let your network build your fortune. We live in a world addicted to instant gratification. Everywhere you look, there's a promise of quick success, fast money, and shortcuts to wealth. But the truth is simple. Real wealth isn't instant. It doesn't arrive overnight, and it certainly doesn't bow to impatience. The philosophy is clear. Don't wish life were easier, wish you were better. Wealth is a reflection of discipline, character, and persistence. It grows silently, steadily, like a tree planted in fertile soil. The seeds you plant today, small, consistent, almost invisible, will bear fruit years from now, far beyond what you might imagine. Patience, not speed, is the multiplier of wealth. The strategy is to embrace time as your ally. The 3% understand this instinctively. They know that compounding, whether in money, skill, or relationships, works only when given time. They delay short-term pleasure for long-term gain, recognizing that each small, consistent action accumulates into a mountain of results. True wealth isn't just about making money. It's about cultivating the patience to let your efforts compound. It's about making decisions today with the foresight to benefit from their impact years down the road. This mindset shifts you from reacting to life to leading your financial future with deliberate intention. The practical steps are straightforward, yet they demand discipline, Begin by setting long-term financial goals, 5 years, 10 years, or even 20. Break them into measurable milestones and review progress regularly. Each quarter, ask yourself, am I on track? Which actions have contributed to growth and which need adjustment? Next, automate your wealth. Let investments flow consistently into stocks, retirement accounts, or income-generating assets. Automation removes emotion, prevents procrastination, and ensures that compounding does its quiet work. It doesn't matter if the amounts are small initially. A few dollars invested weekly can grow into a substantial fortune over years. Finally, avoid chasing the illusions of quick riches. The lure of sudden wealth often leads to reckless decisions, debt, or losses. Focus on actions that grow steadily, reliably, and predictably. Let your patience become your secret weapon. I remember when I began my own journey. Early on, I was tempted by schemes promising fast returns or instant success. I quickly learned that the only real path to lasting wealth was through small, consistent actions applied over time. I started saving modest amounts, reinvesting profits, and continually learning. The results were invisible at first, but with each passing year, those small efforts compounded. Opportunities multiplied, investments grew, and the financial foundation I built began to support the life I imagined. The lesson was simple but profound. Patience isn't passive, it's active faith in your process. Wealth, like a fine wine, improves with time. The sooner you commit to long-term thinking, the more powerful compounding becomes. Remember, the money, knowledge, and habits you invest in today will work quietly for you tomorrow. Delay the urge to see immediate results, nurture consistency, and allow time to do its magic. The truly wealthy aren't those who rushed, they're those who mastered patience and let their actions compound over years. Think long term. Be patient. Let time multiply your wealth. Many people earn money and then let it slip through their fingers as quickly as it arrived. They see profit and immediately think, I've earned it, now I can spend it. But wealth isn't built that way. Money, when treated as a servant, has the remarkable power to multiply itself. When treated as a master, it disappears as quickly as it comes. The philosophy is simple. Money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant. If you want to grow wealth, you must make your money work for you, not the other way around. Every dollar you allow to work becomes a soldier marching toward financial freedom. The profits you earn today can be the foundation for far greater wealth tomorrow, but only if you reinvest with discipline and intention. The strategy is to create a system where profit is never just profit, it's fuel. When a business earns revenue, when an investment yields returns, or when a side project makes money, a portion of that must go back into the engine that created it. Reinvesting is about more than simply keeping the money. It's about consciously deploying it to generate more value, more growth, and more opportunities. This is how the 3% think. They don't treat money as an end in itself, but as a tool to achieve greater outcomes. They understand that compound growth doesn't only occur with time, it occurs with reinvestment. The key is to allocate a percentage consistently, systematically, and wisely, so the machine of wealth never stops turning. The practical steps are simple, yet they require discipline. First, decide on a fixed portion of all profits that will always be reinvested. It might be 50%, 70%, or any amount that your situation allows, but it must be consistent. Second, diversify where you reinvest. Don't put every dollar into one basket. Split it between stocks, property, skill development, business expansion, or other assets that create income over time. The power of diversification reduces risk while increasing opportunity. Third, track your return on investment diligently. Reinvestments without oversight can drift into stagnation. Every dollar must have a purpose and measurable growth. Ask yourself, is this investment compounding? Is it increasing my earning power? Reinvesting is not passive. It is active management with eyes on long-term growth.